man you saw on the street is a contract killer. I've been looking for him for a long time. No one's even seen his face. Nobody except you.
You're the most dangerous man alive. To the most dangerous man alive.
We are talking about the movie Assassins. No, we're not talking about the Sylvester Stallone movie. We're actually talking about the 2014 movie. This one stars Bill Oberst Jr, who is a character actor with over 200 acting credits to his name. So you have probably seen him in a variety of movies and TVs, but maybe not known his name, but you probably recognise his face. This one is directed and co-written by Michael Bonomo, and it's kind of a cat and mouse action thriller. Now the story here focuses on two hired killers, I guess you would say. So, and in the middle of it we have this guy who is a potential witness. So essentially at the beginning of the movie we see this woman basically become assassinated, and the man behind this is this character called Hargreaves, who is this top-notch assassin. Now he may have seen there may have been a witness to this, which was the this girl's ex-boyfriend, and this killer obviously wants to kind of clean up his trail and, you know, take out anyone who may or may not have seen him. But also you add this other element to this, where we have this bounty hunter who is after the killer, who grabs this kind of this potential witness and kind of like forces him to kind of try and help him take down said assassin. So what you have here is you have this guy caught in the middle who may or may not have witnessed this particular kind of this hitman, and you have him after him. We have this other guy who is wanting to use him for his own kind of means to kill the actual assassin, but doesn't really have any real genuine kind of concern over this guy himself. So obviously as the movie progresses there may be a few twists and turns that actually happen. So let's discuss Assassins. So this one was actually made back in 2014 and is now getting a release from Indicon Pictures in 2019. And yeah, it's a pretty competently made kind of action thriller that has a kind of a stylistic edge to it. So I've got to say the kind of like the cool assassins trope is one that I've not seen for a few years. I remember there used to be a kind of a rash of these kind of like movies where you have these kind of like, I mean, we have the Hitman based on the video game ones, and it's in that kind of mould. But it's been a little while since I've seen a film like this. You know, the ultra cool assassin, suited and booted, who is absolutely kind of like a machine, unstoppable. There used to be a few of these movies that came out like a few years ago, and obviously this one being made in 2014, I guess kind of you could argue was part of that trend. But it's been a few years since I've seen one. But it was it's pretty competently made for obviously a very low budget movie, and kind of fairly. Directed with some confidence, shall we say. I feel that some of the directorial choices here are quite bold. Directed certainly with some confidence. I thought the characters are quite fun, and the movie does have an attempt to subvert your expectations and kind of like have a few kind of twists and stuff like that were coming. I thought that you always knew that there was going to be a twist. Whether you kind of guessed the twist or not is another matter. But for me, when I was watching this movie, I always thought, there's going to be a penny is about to drop any moment, and we're going to find out that the status quo isn't quite as what we think it is. Whether that actually turns out to be what you think it might mean, we'll have to up to you, and you can say that. But for me, it was a little bit different. I did feel that there was something coming, and there wasn't quite the way I expected to play out. But nonetheless, obviously, I was pleased to have this this movie, you know, try and kind of like subvert your expectations somewhat, and kind of like, you know, maybe you don't quite know what's going on until you kind of watch the whole film. But it does make sense, I will say, to a point at least. One wonders how much this may have cost, but anyway, that's besides the point. You'll kind of get what I mean. But yeah, I think the acting was all pretty good. I think everyone here does a kind of like a reasonable performance with admittedly somewhat one-directional characters. I mean, they're fun characters, but they don't seem particularly kind of deep. And particularly our bounty hunter guy, who is the guy who is almost the somewhat protector of our kind of like our hapless witness. You know, he's been kind of said that he has been chasing this guy for years. I think, well, you know, I couldn't help but think, how have you been supporting yourself then? You know, if you've been chasing this guy for years, who's been going on for various kind of like hitman jobs, obviously he's getting paid, but what have you been doing to sort of survive, at least? I mean, I get there's going to be this big payday at the end of it if you manage to catch him, but if you've been chasing this guy for years and you're an independent kind of bounty hunter, how have you stayed afloat? It's never really addressed. There are kind of a few little things like that. Like I've said, when it's all said and done and we kind of get the conclusion to the movie, although I thought it made sort of sense to a certain point, there was a few things thinking, I don't quite see how that money-wise would have worked, and things like this, and there's a couple of questions, but I guess don't think about it kind of too much, really. I will say the movie does lag in the middle, to be honest with you. I found that there wasn't quite enough story to kind of make it a thrilling movie through the entire kind of run of the film. And the kind of the second act, the movie does kind of grind to a little bit of a halt, unfortunately, because there's just simply not enough material, or at least kind of story beats that kind of really push the movie forward. But it does pick up again in the kind of the latter act of the movie, and I feel comes to a pretty satisfying conclusion. So overall, it's a somewhat kind of like a low budget affair. It's fairly small scale, but well directed, well acted, and with a kind of a decent enough plot and script that I feel you can maybe kind of look past from the shortcomings if you kind of like a kind of a lower budget kind of Hitman sort of style movie with a kind of very menacing turn from Bill Oberst Jr, who I think actually is pretty good. Now this was actually based on a short film from 2012, so where again starring Oberst Jr as a kind of as a hitman, and not quite sure why it's got delayed for so long, but here it is in 2019, so go check it out if you fancy it. I'll give this one an above average mark, because I do think it's kind of like it's pretty well made, so I'll give this one a 6 out of 10. Have you seen it? What did you think of it? Leave me a comment and I shall look forward to you next time. Bye for now.